Eternity does not wait. It does not pause for regret, nor does it bend to the cries of those who once turned away. The fire does not sleep. It breathes slow, relentless, consuming the souls who chose darkness over light, who heard the warnings but walked on, who felt the pull of grace but resisted. This is the valley of the lost, where the air itself is thick with lamentation, where the ground shifts beneath the weight of unrepentant hearts. Here, the echoes of too late are the only hymns that remain. His name was Elias, a man of routine, of quiet habits, of a life measured in the steady rhythm of disregard. He lived in a city that never slept, but he moved through it like a shadow, untouched by the urgency of the world around him. His apartment was small, cluttered with half-finished projects and unopened letters, the kind that carried warnings he never bothered to read. He worked in an office where the hum of fluorescent lights drowned out the whispers of his conscience. Elias was not cruel, not in the way that draws attention. His sin was quieter, more insidious. Disobedience, not the defiance of rebellion, but the slow, creeping refusal to heed what he knew was right. He ignored the voice of his mother, who begged him to reconcile with his faith. He dismissed the pleading of his childhood friend, who warned him of the path he was on. He turned away from the sermons that once moved him, convincing himself that he had time, always time. His worldview was built on delay. Tomorrow, he would say, I'll chin tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. Instead, he buried himself in distractions, endless scrolling, empty conversations, the numbing comfort of routine. He knew the truth. He had always known it, but knowing was not enough. The first crack in his soul came when he stopped praying, not all at once, but gradually, as if the words had lost their meaning. He told himself he was too busy, too tired, that God would understand. But the silence in his heart grew louder than any prayer ever could. Then came the dreams, dark, suffocating visions of a valley consumed by fire, where faces he recognized twisted in agony. He would wake gasping, his sheets damp with sweat, but by morning he would shake them off as nothing more than stress. Just my imagination, he muttered, though his hands trembled as he poured his coffee. His relationships frayed. His mother's calls went unanswered. His friends' invitations to church were met with excuses. He drifted further, convincing himself that he was free, that he was in control. But the warnings did not stop. A sermon on the radio, a verse in a book left open on a park bench, the distant toll of a church bell, each one a lifeline he refused to grasp. Twice he stood at the edge of repentance. Once, after a near accident on the highway, he promised himself he would return to church. But the memory faded, and so did his resolve. The second time, a stranger handed him a pamphlet on the street, their eyes filled with a sorrow that seemed to see straight into his soul. He crumpled it in his pocket and walked away. The storm came without warning, a sudden, violent downpour that turned the streets into rivers. Elias hurried home, his mind on the warmth of his apartment, the comfort of his routines. He ignored the flashing warning signs, the barriers blocking the flooded underpass. I know this road, he thought. I'll be fine. The water rose faster than he could react. His car stalled. The current dragged him under. In those final moments, as the world went black, he realized too late that he had ignored every warning, every chance to turn back. The heat was the first thing he felt, not the warmth of life, but a suffocating, living fire that pressed against his skin, his soul. He opened his eyes to darkness thick, choking darkness, broken only by the writhing flames that twisted like serpents around him. Shadows moved in the distance, figures contorted in silent agony. Hands emerged from the burning earth, clutching at nothing. A voice spoke, not from the fire, not from the shadows, but from everywhere and nowhere, resonating in the hollow chambers of his heart. You are warned. Elias tried to scream, but his voice was lost in the endless echoes of lamentation. I didn't know, he whispered, though he knew it was a lie. You knew, the voice replied. You choose. He remembered the sermons, the dreams, the pamphlet crumpled in his pocket. He remembered the love he had turned away from, the grace he had rejected. The fire did not burn his flesh, it burned his soul, searing away the excuses, the delays, the empty promises of tomorrow. He fell to his knees in the ashes, his hands clawing at the scorched earth. "I'm sorry," he sobbed. But the words dissolved into the endless wailing around him. He wanted to warn them, the living, the ones who still had time. He wanted to scream, to beg them to listen, but his voice was gone, swallowed by the abyss. The truth settled over him like a shroud. He had chosen this, not in a single moment, but in 1,000 small decisions, a lifetime of turning away. The fire would not consume him. It would keep him forever. Disobedience is not always a shout. Often, it is a whisper, a quiet refusal to listen, to change, to turn back. Elias thought he had time, but eternity does not wait. The warnings come, the sermons, the dreams, the still, small voice, but if we ignore them, if we convince ourselves that tomorrow will be different, we may find that tomorrow never comes. Death does not announce itself. It does not bargain. It simple is, and when it arrives, the choices we made in life become the reality we face for eternity. The fire does not sleep. Neither should our vigilance. Stay with us, and let these stories be a light in the darkness. Next, we walk with another soul who thought they had time until they didn't.